Jake Portman lives a dull, disconnected life in suburban Florida. He's quiet, socially awkward, and working a dead-end job at a drugstore. But Jake was always close to his grandfather, Abraham Portman, who told him strange bedtime stories about a magical orphanage in Wales filled with children who had supernatural powers. Jake loved these stories as a child. But as he grew up, he was told they were fairy tales. Stories Abe made up to escape the trauma of being a Jewish Vanuatu refugee. Still, Jake's bond with Abe remains strong. One day, Jake receives a frantic call from his grandfather. Abe claims they are coming for him. And when Jake arrives, he finds the house ransacked. Moments later, he finds Abe dying in the woods. His eyes are missing, and he utters cryptic words with his last breath. Find the bird. In the loop. September 3rd, 1943. Jake sees something horrifying near Abe's body. A tall, tentacled monster, invisible to everyone else. This is Jake's first glimpse of a hologast. Everyone else assumes Abe was killed by wild animals, and Jake is sent to therapy. But Abe's final words haunt him, and so do the old photographs and letters he left behind. Jake's therapist, Dr. Golan, suggests that Jake visit Cairnholm, the island in Wales where Abe claimed to have lived in his youth. It might help Jake get closure. Jake convinces his parents to let him go, and his father Franklin accompanies him. Cairnholm is a sleepy, isolated island, still stuck in the past. Jake begins exploring the ruins of the old orphanage, only to find it was destroyed in an air raid during WO2, specifically on September 3rd, 1943. The villagers are secretive and dismissive. Jake feels increasingly frustrated, until one day, while wandering the ruins, he spots a girl in old-fashioned clothes who seems to know him. She and several other peculiar-looking children chase Jake into a cave. When he follows, the world suddenly changes. People are dressed in 1940s attire, air raid sirens go off, and the bombed orphanage is now vibrant and full of life. Jake has entered a time loop. Jake meets Miss Alma LaFay Peregrine, the headmistress of the orphanage. She is an imbrine, a special type of peculiar who can manipulate time and transform into a bird. Miss Peregrine's job is to keep her peculiar children safe by maintaining a time loop. Specifically, September 3rd, 1943, the day a German bomb would otherwise destroy their home. Every evening, just before the bomb falls, Miss Peregrine resets the day. This way, the children never age, and the home is hidden from the outside world. Jake meets the other peculiar children. Emma Bloom, who can float and manipulate air. She must wear heavy lead shoes or she'll float away. Olive, who can create fire with her touch. Enoch, who can reanimate dead things using animal hearts or mechanical devices. Bronwyn, with incredible strength. Millard, who is completely invisible. Hugh, who has bees living in his stomach. Horace, who has prophetic dreams. Fiona, who controls plant life. Each child has a unique ability, and they all depend on the safety of the loop and Miss Peregrine's protection. They welcome Jake, knowing he's Abe's grandson, and suspect he might be peculiar too. Jake learns that Abe used to travel between loops and was a kind of peculiar secret agent who hunted hologhasts, monstrous creatures created in a failed immortality experiment. Long ago, a scientist named Mr. Barron, along with others, tried to become immortal by forcing Einbrines to remain in time loops while outside them. The experiment went horribly wrong. Instead of gaining eternal life, the participants transformed into hideous hologhasts, tall, eyeless, tentacled creatures that feed on the eyes of peculiar children to evolve. When a hologhast consumes enough eyes, it regains a humanoid form and becomes a white. A peculiar with white eyes and no pupils. Whites retain their intelligence and hunt Einbrines and children to regain lost humanity. Jake discovers he inherited Abe's peculiar ability. He can see hologhasts, unlike most peculiars. This makes him a critical asset and a target. Meanwhile, Barron, now a white in human form, played by Samuel L. Jackson, is leading a campaign to kidnap Einbrines and restart the immortality experiment. Barron has already killed multiple Einbrines and is now after Miss Peregrine. He uses trickery to infiltrate the loop, posing as a scientist investigating Abe's death. When he attacks, Miss Peregrine turns into a bird and allows herself to be captured to protect the children. The loop is left vulnerable. Without an Einbrine, the children can't reset the loop. If they stay too long, they'll begin to age rapidly, decades in mere hours. Jake, now fully believing in himself, takes the lead. He and the children decide to travel to Blackpool, where Baron is holding the kidnapped Imbrines in an old carnival. In modern-day Blackpool, the children arrive at an eerie, foggy pier filled with abandoned rides and a crumbling fortress. There, Baron and his fellow whites prepare the final stage of their ritual. Jake, Emma, Enoch, and the rest launch a bold rescue mission. Using teamwork and their peculiar abilities, they confront the whites and their hologhasts. Highlights of the battle include Emma using her air powers to weaponize carnival rides, Olive igniting explosives, Enoch animating skeletons to fight the hologhasts, Millard stealthily sabotaging equipment while invisible. The climax involves Jake facing off against Baron, who tries to confuse him by shapeshifting into Jake's form. But because Jake can see hologhasts and whites clearly, he identifies the real Baron and kills him. With Baron dead and the other whites defeated, Miss Peregrine and the other Imbrines are rescued. However, their original loop, September 3, 1943, was destroyed during the battle. The children must now find a new loop. Jake returns to 2016 and discovers a miraculous twist. Because Baron died in the past, he never killed Abe. His grandfather is alive again. But Jake feels torn. He finally has closure with Abe. But he misses Emma and the peculiar children. So Jake makes a bold decision. Using a series of time loops, he travels back through the decades, sailing across oceans, hopping between loops, until he finally finds them again. Jake and Emma reunite, and the group welcomes him as one of their own.